Hundreds of sightings of large, low-altitude, SUV-sized UAP-like objects are being reported repeatedly and consistently across New Jersey, near U.S. military bases, the UK, and several other states, including New York, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia.
In the skies above the east, reports of mysterious drones.
Drones have been hovering over New Jersey, and no one appears to know why.
Well, it's been the talk in New Jersey lately. Mysterious drones flying above multiple counties, and no one really seems to know exactly what's going on.
What is the origin of these objects, and who or what is behind them? Why are authorities not providing answers? Are they incapable or complicit? If the objects are from enemy nations, why is nothing being done about it? This raises many questions.
This episode is for anyone intrigued by the unexplained, interested in UFOs, or that is simply curious about strange internet mysteries. I'm your co-host Izzo, joined here by your other co-host Magnum.
And this is the Swerve Podcast. And I'm open-minded, right? Welcome to the Swerve Podcast. They basically acknowledge that these ideas are batshit crazy.
We do deep dives on topics that swerve off the mainstream path in an attempt to understand everything in the universe, one obscure topic at a time. I'm your co-host Izzo.
And I'm your other co-host Magnum. Never mind, I'm just as crazy.
Swerve with us into the unknown as we explore ideas that blur the line between reality and fantasy.
Ideas that will make your brain blast out of your head.
Ideas that are straight up crazy.
It's super swervy.
We seek to present and understand.
Innovation occurs on the fringe, and this is where we choose to begin our search.
That's where I get all my ideas from, so if I support them, I get more ideas.
Come and learn some crazy shit with us.
The Swerve Podcast is a completely self-run, independent podcast. Enjoy your stay.
Hello and welcome back, listeners of the Swerve Podcast. We've got another bonus episode for you today.
What's up, everybody? This is going to be an exciting episode. I've been hearing a lot about this. I wanted to get to the bottom of it. So today we're going to be talking about UAP-like drones that are being reported seemingly everywhere. I've seen a lot of hubbub about this on the internet. There's mainstream media reports. There's a lot of Reddit posts going crazy. There's a lot of social media posts going crazy. I see a lot of stuff going on. So we wanted to investigate this. And, you know, it kind of dovetails off the past bonus episodes we were doing. We covered the mysterious email leak of the UFO things. And we did the coverage of our aliens coming out of the oceans and the 2024 congressional UFO hearing. This topic is very out of control. We'll see what happens here. I had a wild ride researching some things. I spent some late nights, real time, having data come in that we'll go through. But having said all that, I think let's hop into the basics.
Yeah, let's do it.
Since November 2024, hundreds and hundreds of sightings of large, low-altitude, SUV-sized, and in some cases bus-sized, UAP-like drones are being spotted repeatedly and consistently across New Jersey. They're being seen near U.S. military bases. They're being seen in the UK near military bases, as well as several other states, including New York, Florida, Pennsylvania, and Philadelphia over the last several weeks. The FBI is investigating these cases, but they've provided no clarity to date, at least the date of recording this. There's many civilian reports. There's up to 49 reports per night since November.
Wow.
It's crazy. New Jersey state police officers have footage of these drones or these UAP-like drones, and they have begun using radar systems to detect them. They've also tried to pursue them using their own drones, but there's not much coming of this. All we're really seeing is these civilian cell phone videos, people freaking out, seeing these objects, brightly colored, flying through the skies. Some of these drones, they're reported to operate for hours in flight. They appear in clusters in some instances. They're flying through no-fly zones and other restricted airspaces, including military bases, weapons development centers, and nuclear power plants. There's one report I found of a drone that was flying, having prevented or interfered with a medical helicopter rescue mission. The point being there, they are actually disrupting normal activity. They also fly ostensibly with planned movements. They're not sporadic. They're not, usually when you hear people report of UAP, they're kind of sporadic, quick acceleration, kind of all over the place like a laser pointer on a wall. This isn't really the case. This is very planned, deliberate motion, low altitude. It appears to be very deliberate and along defined paths. There's also reports of drone activity over Trump's golf course.
Oh no.
That he golfs at. So what's happening? What's going on? I've seen many mainstream media outlets report on this matter. It's getting a lot of attention. I've seen Fox have stories about this, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, News Nation. There's a lot of activity around this issue. I don't really know what's going on. I just see a lot of posts about it on Reddit, to be honest. Izzo, what do you think? Have you been exposed to this?
Only recently, I would say, is when I've started seeing these posts. So I'm just getting into the trend now.
Yeah, you're just getting into it. That makes sense. What's very interesting about all of this, despite the immense coverage and exposure, the authorities remain silent. There's not a lot being said or mentioned about this. What I want to also get into in the basics here, what are we talking about? Are we talking about military drones? Honestly, probably. We'll get through it. Or are we talking about genuine UAP? And when we get through some of the topics, we'll see when we start analyzing some of the reports. Some of these actually you can't say it's a drone. There's certain things that you could classify as either or, and we'll talk about it. So there's this conflicting view. What are we actually talking about here? I'm going to borrow a post. I really like this. This was from a guy on Reddit named Yossarian_Reddit. He thinks that we should be calling these UAP because they fit the definition. They are truly unidentified. There are no claims to have identified these vehicles that have been made by the Pentagon, the White House, or the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, or local and state authorities, or even Aero. So whatever is flying around, it truly is currently unidentified.
Yeah.
It's also anomalous. These objects are displaying a range of anomalous behaviors. They have surprisingly long flight times for drones. They can't be jammed by conventional drone jamming equipment. They evade helicopter pursuit. They go dark when authorities get eyes on them. Civilian drone operators report that their drone batteries are drained within a minute, coming into close proximity of these things. And strangest of all, no one has gotten a good image of one of them, nor followed it to a landing site. What's going on here? Whatever's flying around, you could consider it to be anomalous. I kind of like that definition. Why aren't people following them? If it's just a simple drone, that should be very easy. There should be a landing site, a refueling station, something.
But it drains energy.
It's draining energy out of drones, like civilian drones. I even came across, I don't know how much merit we can put into this claim, but I did see a claim that a car battery was also drained nearby one. And I'm like, I don't know. But if it is the case, it is pretty anomalous activity. Also phenomena, the P in the UAP. They appear to be vehicles, but until we get an actual photo of one, not just the lights at night or, kind of at dusk and it's blurry because you have to zoom in and cameras are only so strong. Or better yet, capture one, which, by the way, breaking news, as of last night when I was prepping for today's recording session, there's some crazy stuff going on, and we'll get into it later in the episode. Perhaps there is a downed one, and perhaps even after this podcast comes out, we might know what's going on. So they do fit the term UAP.
Yeah, seems like it. So
we'll use it. But usually when you think of UAP, we're talking a crazy advanced technology that we can't explain. You can explain this technology. It's just lights. It's lights. It's a big drone-like craft. It is unidentified. It is anomalous, and it is a phenomena. So you could say that. I think personally, the word drone, it is just more palatable for mainstream reporting, right? Because if you start saying UAP, there is that stigma associated with it. And also just when you think of UAP, UFO, you think of something even more crazy and anomalous. Whereas these very closely fit the description of what just a big drone would be.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree that it makes it more palatable.
So we can use either or. I'm going to use UAP drones or UAP-like drones. We'll say that because then we can get the best of both worlds. Interestingly, on the other side of the coin, these don't really fit the 5 observables of true UAP. Are you familiar with the 5 observables, Izzo?
I'm not, no.
Well, they don't fit them. So the first one is sudden and instantaneous acceleration. They really don't have that. They're floating in the air or slowly or medium speed moving through the air. 2 is hypersonic velocities without signatures. Well, they're definitely not going hypersonic. They're extremely easy to see. They're low altitude, slow. 3 is low observability. I mean, I guess you could say maybe some of that in the sense that in the daytime, there's not a lot of great footage that I've come across, but they are clearly blinking lights that are red and green. It's very obvious. It's not stealth, so they're very observable. 4, transmedium travel. We're not seeing these things go into an ocean or out of an ocean and into the air, or out of the air into space, or vice versa from space into air. Not seeing that. They're just airborne. And then 5, positive lift or anti-gravity capabilities. No indication of that. Clearly, there's loud sounds coming from many of these, which drones are fucking loud.
Yeah.
So you can hear these. So it doesn't really fit the 5 observables of what a UAP traditionally would be. So I think it's totally fine to call these drones as well, or use what I said, the hyphenated UAP drones. Then we can appease both parties. So point being, why is the Swerve covering this? Why are we getting into this? It seems right off the hop, probably very likely military drones in one form or another, which is a very prosaic explanation. We don't have to get into any crazy territory at all. But what's very interesting about this topic, if you dig deeper, there is some strangeness associated with this. So I want to play a quick clip from Fox about a guy talking about how his battery died from his drone that he deployed to try chase after one of these UAP drones.
The other night, there was, right here over Picatinny, there was a drone just hanging out. I put my drone up in the air and went towards it. I had full battery life. Not 3 minutes into the flight, I lost control of the drone. Warning on my screen, lost control, and my drone started going down, dead battery.
Another thing that's very interesting, the drones are supposed to broadcast their location. They have an ID they're supposed to broadcast. Apparently, these drones that are being cited are not doing this. So in that sense, they're not disclosing that ID. So that's also interesting. That's also anomalous. We have Governor Phil Murphy. He has said that they're going dark when we get eyes on them. So let's play that clip here.
Why is it so hard to get answers? These are apparently as I understand it, very sophisticated. The minute you get eyes on them, they go dark. We're obviously most concerned about sensitive targets and sensitive critical infrastructure. So we've got military assets, we've got utility assets, we've got the president-elect's one of his homes here. This is something we're taking deadly seriously. We've gotten good cooperation out of the feds, but we need more, and that was my plea.
So we have governors of the state making statements about why it's hard to track these things down. I find that very interesting. Furthermore, the FBI claims to not know what they are. How does the FBI not know what these are? As we just talked about, they're slow, they're low altitude. We can't follow them and see where they land. That's too crazy for the FBI to figure out. Or even just anybody, local law enforcement, anybody. It just no one knows. There's dozens of reports daily, and we're not able to figure this out. So let's play a clip from the FBI.
You're telling me we don't know what the hell these drones are in New Jersey are? Is that correct?
That's right.
It's crazy. I mean, that's crazy. That's madness that we don't know what these drones are.
And then finally, this was, as of last night, real time I'm coming across this information. I think let's just play, this is dispatch audio from police that received a 911 call about a downed UAP, and this is what it said.
County 85, what was the exact call that this wasn't actually saw it crash or heard it crash?
Per the caller, a drone fell out of the sky by the power lines behind their house. And then 10 more showed up.
Okay. Interesting.
Essentially, we have police reporting, or at least being reported to, of a downed UAP, and 10 others follow that downed UAP, and they're going to go investigate it. So we have more on this later. This was a New Jersey incident, hot off the press. We'll get into it. Very wild. I also want to mention December 11th, 2024, the Pentagon does hold a press conference, and they state that there is no evidence that the sightings are foreign entities and they're not U.S. tech. They say that. So the question is, okay, so if it's not a foreign thing, it's not U.S., what does that leave? It's fucking aliens. Right? If it's not anything, what else are we suggesting? There's only one other thing available. I'm not saying that that's what it is, but I'm not saying that's what it is because it's fun. It's more fun that way.
Yeah.
That's what the Pentagon said. They said it's not foreign, it's not ours. Okay.
I mean,
it's magic? Like, what is it?
Maybe it's a hologram. Project Bluebeam.
Oh, here we go. I think what we should do, this is why we're looking into it. It is crazy. It is anomalous. It is mysterious. We're going to get into it. I think let's start with some of the craziest reports that I wanted to highlight about this issue.
What is going on in our skies? Hundreds of reports of anomalous drone-like objects are being reported across the world in heavily populated civilian centers and restricted airspaces. In this section, we will cover some of the most anomalous reports and get to the bottom of some of the most popular sightings being shared on the internet.
So before we start, I want to just talk about drone laws and regulations. These are a thing. There is this regulatory body, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA. There is a requirement for certain size drones to have a remote ID. This requires them to be registered with the Federal Aviation Administration and have a transponder that is able to broadcast the remote ID for identification purposes. There is a little loophole to this, which explain why these don't have these remote IDs. Recreational drones that are less than 0.55 pounds or drones used by a federal agency, they can be exempt. Okay, so this obviously isn't a recreational drone, but maybe it's a federal agency thing, and so it would be exempt from having this remote ID. And as we mentioned in the basics, the drones that are being cited and reported, they apparently do not broadcast this remote ID. So they're in breach of the FAA unless it's a federal agency. So any drone, you're required to adhere to various airspace regulations. You are not allowed to be flown 400 feet AGL, and AGL stands for above ground level. You can only fly over 400 feet above ground level if you're within 400 feet of a structure horizontally. They call that being tethered. And in that case, you can fly 400 feet above that structure. And this rule makes sense if you think about a mountain.
Yeah.
If you can be 400 feet above the mountain and still technically be above ground level, but overall you would still be way, way, way above, sea level or just the street per se.
Yeah.
So that's what the AGL rule is, that 400 feet. So these are not adhering to that. They're also flying in restricted air sites. You can't fly over, or you need pre-authorization if you're going to fly over airports, hospitals, like utilities facilities, the military facilities. These things, they shouldn't be there, but they are. So the main point I'm trying to make, they're not adhering to the remote ID broadcast. They're also flying in restricted airspaces, to the point where we even have the reports of that medical helicopter having to divert. So it's incredibly strange that this isn't being sorted out. It's not a one-of thing. This is a consistent daily thing that's being seen. What is going on here with the drones? A lot of these do really just resemble big-ass fucking drones. Yeah. Clearly man-made, clearly drones, military, foreign, I don't know what they are. But here's the thing. When you dig deeper, there is a lot of anomalous orbs being reported. So it's not just these drones. There's these orbs. And I want to highlight a couple cases that I came across that are recent to the time of recording this. There's a New Jersey multicolored floating orb that was reported on December 10th, 2024. And we'll have links for everything we're discussing in our sources in the description if you want to see what the videos look like and further explore what we're talking about. But if I'm going to describe to our podcast listeners what this video is, during the night, there's a strange light in the sky, and they captured it using two different methods. The first was using a digital camera with a 200 times zoom. And then the second method was just using his cell phone. So he had two different cameras on the object. On the 200 times zoom video, the light appears to be circular, like an orb, and it appears to shift between multiple colors. It's going blue, red, green, white. It looks very strange. It's this multicolored circular object in the zoom. Now with the cell phone video, the light basically just looks like a distant bright light floating in the sky. And it does totally resemble what I would expect a hovering drone would look like in the night. The only thing that's weird about it is that it's cycling through these multicolors. It's not just a consistent flashing color, or the navigation lights that you see, the red and green with the drones that are being reported it's different colors.
Yeah.
It does look very weird. And you have both eyes on it, both the camera and the zoom video. One thing I want to mention, though, this is very weird, this orb, but I was digging a little bit deeper, and people were saying that the orb shape in the 200 times zoom could just be an artifact, because if you don't have the right focus when you're zooming in on bright objects such as stars or airplanes using a telescope, if it's not focused correctly, you do get this artifact in your footage. You think it's this round orb thing, but it's really just out of focus. So we could potentially explain what that is through the 200 times zoom. But in this case, he also has the cell phone footage. So regardless, there's this strange multicolored bright light that's changing in both of these videos. So I find that strange. And it's not like the other drone reports. This is like this floating orb thing that's changing color. So I wanted to highlight that. There's also strange orange orbs that were reported on December 7th, 2024. This next case, I found this interesting because we have two different sources from two different angles that filmed the event allegedly roughly around the same time. The videos depict orange orbs moving probably like a medium speed, I would classify it as, in the sky. So again, this isn't the typical drone thing that we're seeing from the New Jersey reports. This is orange orbs, and there's two of them, and there's two different videos from two different angles on this. So it's nothing too crazy, but the footage definitely doesn't resemble the drone architecture from many of the mainstream media videos that we're seeing going around. It's not triangular. It doesn't have the red-green lights. These are orange, circular, orb-like things. They also, what's interesting, resemble the orb descriptions from the recent November 2024 UAP congressional hearing.
Interesting.
So my point being is there's some strangeness going on here.
Yeah, since it was talked about in a public forum, now sightings are occurring more frequently.
And the question is, we can get into this later in the episode, but is it possible that all of these man-made drones that are clearly visible, no one knows why they're flying, but is it just so that there's plausible deniability to be like, oh, it was drones, but there actually is these orange orb things going on too. And, it's just kind of obfuscate the matter a little bit. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. There's also been a triple orb sighting reported. This one was very weird at a power plant in North Carolina. This video I wanted to talk about because it's just fucking weird. There's these strange three lights. They're moving around each other. They're either changing size or their brightness intensity. You can't really tell, right? Or they're moving forward and backwards. It's hard to say if it's an actual size change or not. Like they're moving closer or further away. How can you distinguish the two? But they're also different colors. And the lights, they were reported to be above Duke Nuclear Power Plant in North Carolina. What you see with this video is there's three different colored objects floating in the air, and they're maneuvering, and they appear to maneuver into a perfect triangle. And then they slowly move away and disappear. Again, this sighting, the reason I'm bringing it up, it doesn't resemble typical drone architecture that we're seeing in the mainstream media reports from civilians capturing these UAP drone things with their cell phones. This was more orb-like. So again, the point I'm trying to make, it's not just drone architecture we're seeing. There's some other weird anomalies. So what's going on? More importantly, this one's also crazy. The stuff coming out of the UK. So we have a lot of concentrated things in the United States, especially around New Jersey. But these UAP drone sightings are occurring in the UK. Specifically, drone incursions were initially reported around 3 US air bases. Royal Air Force Mildenhall and Royal Air Force Lakenheath in Suffolk and the RAF Feltwell in Norfolk between November 20th and the 22nd. And the aircrafts have since reappeared. Okay? I want to also make a note here. The Royal Air Force Lakenheath, this is the largest U.S. Air Force operated base in England. And we're having drone activity around it. What is going on? I have another weird note I want to mention before we talk a little bit more about these UK sightings. Around this time, there's a YouTube channel called Liberty Wing UK. And he was live streaming footage from around the RAF Lakenheath Air Force Base. This is just what he does on his channel. He just watches like the jets take off and it's kind of cool. But his account was mysteriously deleted around the time of these sightings. I looked into this. According to people of Reddit that reached out to him, he's fine, but he said that he couldn't recover his old YouTube channel and that he was not allowed to live stream for 24 hours or use the community post feature, nor could he post videos longer than 15 minutes. He also had no idea what happened to his old channel. He since has a second channel that has come up. You can find Liberty Wing UK, but the old channel is gone.
Interesting. Wow.
Yes. So he just happens to be live streaming that Air Force Base regular. Like that's what his channel was about. It's just cool, like aircraft stuff. And his account, it got deleted. So that video, the video he does have, it has been recovered. People did get it. So that video is out there if people want to investigate. But for some reason, very weird, right? There's these drone sightings. He captures it and he gets deleted.
And then he's forced to make shorts.
Yeah, it's just YouTube trying to compete with TikTok. We need more shorts.
Yeah.
Ban them. Another thing that's interesting, there's another video going around of these spheres that were captured on a tarmac. And there was a Twitter account of an alleged pilot who captured images of these spheres on this tarmac. That was also deleted. And that was like a popular thing going around for a bit. So my point being is that things are just mysteriously vanishing that have to do with these sightings to some extent. Here's another crazy thing I want to talk about in the UK. This is a really good video. There's a triangle-shaped UAP, which really probably is just a man-made drone, but we'll call it a UAP drone for the reasons we outlined in the basics. This guy has pretty decent footage. It's a triangle-shaped drone or some kind of craft that he zoomed in on at Lakenheath. And you can see it. It's got three lights. There's a red and a green and then a white on the forming the triangle of whatever this craft is. So the point I'm trying to make, essentially, in the UK, there's brightly lit aerial triangular shaped vehicles, and they're being observed hovering above the homes of local residents and military bases. That's wild. That in itself is just weird. And we don't know it can't be explained. It's not explained. We don't know what's going on. Importantly, there are also reports of orange balls in the sky that suddenly vanish. Again, kind of going into what I was saying earlier about some of the cases I was trying to point out. That's also being seen in the UK. So not everything in the sky is simply the drones. There's some orb action going on. That's why we're here. That's why we're reporting it. The Swerve.
Yeah, Big Brother's upping their game.
Orb action. The BBC reported that British troops have been deployed to assist the US to track down who may be responsible. So things are being investigated. Locals report increased police and military presence around their villages. What's going on here? US Air Force pilots, they've also reverted to using more secure communication methods. They're using encrypted data links instead of radios when speaking to the ground. This is coming from the BBC. This isn't just me saying random shit. Locals have also reported seeing aerial vehicles multiple times in a period of 1 week. So it's not just a one-time thing, it's happening frequently. I also want to make another note. Citizen drone operators have tried to fly their own drones to investigate, but apparently people are reporting that the radio frequencies required to operate their drones are being jammed in certain areas so they can't even take off. So there's certain areas where you can't even take your citizen drone up because that channel, whatever the frequency is to communicate between your controller and the drone, it just doesn't work.
I'm wondering if because these citizen drones comply with all the regulations, they have a radio tag on them that can be hacked and controlled or just jammed.
Totally. So there's certain areas where that is occurring according to, well, here I should say, the source I'm saying for the jamming of the stuff, it's coming from a guy named Daddy Gooner 83. So, and it's a tweet he put out. So apparently he couldn't use his drone. So that's where that's coming from. So maybe we'll take that one with a grain of salt. But the other stuff, the UK stuff, this is coming from the BBC reporting this. The orbs, the drones, the military bases, the increased military presence. Very wild. This is going on in the UK right now. Now, what I want to move into next, we've established some of the more anomalous orb stuff that's happening at the same time concurrently with the New Jersey drone action we're seeing. We talked about the UK stuff briefly. There's so much stuff coming out that I want to take a moment and point out some crazy shit just to ground everybody. Just to ground everybody. Did you see the flying Stingray stuff?
No, I didn't.
This is your first time seeing it? Okay, great.
Yeah.
I'm seeing this being posted all over the place. There's a flying Stingray drone. It looks creepy as shit. It looks like a shape-shifting UAP. So I wanted to address this because this is a very popular series of photos that's being shared all over the place, and it ties into today's topic. Where this came from, the Stingray UAP drone. This came from a UK Facebook group. There were several images of an alleged Stingray-shaped UAP, and they're getting thousands of upvotes on Reddit. It's being used in social media. It's claimed to be photographed by the OP who posted it. He said his mother took it on November 30th, 2024 in Margate, a few miles off the coast in the North Sea. People are speculating that this is an advanced UAP drone, or they're also speculating that it's the supersonic bidirectional flying wing that was designed by NASA. Have you heard of that one?
No, I haven't.
So when you look at this thing, right, it does look like a craft. Let's describe it to the audio only listener. It really looks like a Stingray with, on the bottom of it, there's a series of lights in a circle that are beaming some kind of energy down. That's kind of what it looks like, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does look like that. See, I was seeing that as jets, essentially. The blue lights.
It could, yeah, totally. Blue thing could be jet. Yeah. That's what people are alleging. Okay. When I looked into this, one thing I came across was some people were like, hey, it could be this supersonic bidirectional flying wing. Apparently NASA has this super bidirectional flying wing platform. It's supposed to be used. It's not actually designed, but it's designed for supersonic flight. Some are alleging it could be that. Some are also saying, this is another thing I found trying to explain the Stingray. Some were going so far as saying the Stingray UAP is shaped as a Stingray because the ocean, right? The aliens, if they're in the ocean, they're just mimicking what they see in their habitat and making the Stingray UAP. But here's the thing. When you actually look into these photos, and this is 100% the case what these are, it's a fucking kite. It's a fucking LED kite.
Who still flies kites anymore? And you got all these like apps on your phone.
I agree. This is an LED kite. That's all it is. If you look up LED kites and look up the Stingray UAP, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. They look exactly the same. So this thing going around, everybody's pointing at it. And because the UAP drone thing is buzzing right now, this gets a lot of attention and it's completely debunked. It's completely sorted out. So I want to point that out as we're grounding here. We're talking about anomalous orbs. We're talking about strange lights in the sky around military bases and stuff. We don't fucking know what we're talking about. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. Izzo doesn't know what he's talking about. We're trying. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're trying. But at the end of the day, everything could just be kites.
Loud kites.
Loud kite. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just trying to point out, let's put on our critical thinking caps and not just jump to aliens, although it's fucking aliens. So the triangle drones, I want to also point out, there's been a lot of these triangle drones we've brought up a little bit on the podcast. In New Jersey, some of these great things that are being passed around, they've actually just been confirmed as planes. So there's another popular post of a strange triangle-shaped object, and this is sorted out. Reddit figured it out. This one was just planes. There is an example. There was two C-130s, a C-5 and a C-17, that were doing loops over New Jersey, and they were confirmed to have flown right over Ocean City, which was the site of this popular sighting. So my other point is, again, in the same way that the Stingray thing is just an LED kite, well, these were just confirmed planes that people thought were triangle UFOs. So the question is, we can't just always jump to aliens, even though it is aliens. We can't always do that. Now, what I want to hop to next in this section, this was wild. I caught this next part live in the action last night as I'm prepping for today's recording topic. There's a whole story that blows up on Reddit, and I want to go through sequentially what happened and my thought process as it's happening so you can experience what I experienced, listeners. And Izzo, he's going to be hearing this for the first time as well. So I'm going in, prepping the notes, getting ready for today. On Reddit, I see that there's a 911 call reporting a downed drone behind a power line in New Jersey. So I'm like, fuck, I have to look at this and figure out what's going on. I spend now time looking through dispatch calls. I'm listening to dispatch calls. People are pointing out which ones to find. There's specifically one that's important. It's called Dispatch 6. In that audio, which we played in the basics, he talks about a downed drone that was followed by 10 more after it in New Jersey.
County 85, what was the exact call that this wasn't actually saw it crash or heard it crash?
For the caller, a drone fell out of the sky by the power lines behind their house. And then 10 more showed up.
So essentially, like, one drone goes down and 10 go to help it out or whatever?
That's the implication. We don't know.
10 others fall out of the sky as well.
No, not 10 fall out. It's just followed or pursued by 10 more. And they're sent off to go investigate this call and see what's going on.
Yeah.
What's interesting, I can find recordings of the dispatch call because people logged them. But when I go to the dispatch website, at least as of last night, I couldn't find it. So my question was, is it removed? Or am I just retarded and I just didn't know? I just don't know how to navigate the site, which is totally possible. But I want to say I couldn't find on the dispatch site, which tracks all these and has the recordings for that county, I couldn't find it. So I was like, whoa, is it gone? I don't know. But it's also possible I just didn't look hard enough. Later, the dispatch, though, Dispatch 6, they say, we're in the woods. So this indicates that they did go to investigate, and now they're going into the woods. What's going on? It's very mysterious. Down drone, followed by 10, and now they're going into the woods. Furthermore, this is where the story gets even more crazy. And this is all popping up real time for me. Dispatch 6 later reports that the OEM-1 is on the scene for the drone. So what is the OEM? They're the Office of Emergency Management Directive, and they provide technical search and rescue operations. So Dispatch 6 leaves. They're out of the woods now. If you keep listening to their dispatch calls, they're just doing regular police work at that point. It's like they went to investigate the drones, went into the woods, and then the OEM showed up and they peace out. So we don't know what's happening anymore. We have no record. We just know a different organization is on site.
Interesting.
So what's going on? I don't know. Where things get a little bit more crazy, as this is happening, there's simultaneously videos of a strange multi-light craft at low altitude being posted on Facebook and then shared everywhere. Reddit gets a hold of this and they begin speculating that some girls driving using their cell phone might have caught the downed drone. And this is all coming up as I'm looking into this. There was 2 shorts on YouTube that were posted of these girls who had been filming this drone thing. And this morning they're gone. The videos are gone. But there is a backup. You can watch it. And we'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. We'll play the audio here.
God, this is terrifying.
That's a UFO.
No, is that
It's
really
moving. It's moving.
What is that? What is that? What is that?
It's a UFO.
So, are you videoing?
Yeah. What? That's like a UFO.
I'm so freaked out right now. What the heck are we seeing?
That's like... It's an actual...
What is
What? It's like landing.
Honey. What is that? that.
I am. It's like landing.
Nobody else sees this? Are we crazy?
I have it on video.
Are we crazy?
It's like down in the trees now.
What the hell? We should have sat over there. Wait, we're gonna die here. I'm so.
Okay.
You hear them screaming. They're like, "Oh, this is a UFO. It looks like it's landing."
Yeah, in the
and
woods.
It's this crazy light in the woods. So people are and this is New Jersey that they're filming this. So some were trying to connect the two. Very wild. And this is popping up. I don't have more information at the time. As all that's happening, there's another dispatch call that emerges, and it's claiming 20 to 30 drones were overhead in Ocean County.
County, call 300. That's a firm. We just got another 148 Charlottesville Drive South. Call person said she had 25 to 30 drones over her house, but they weren't doing anything.
Received, thank you.
You're welcome. 2354.
172-224.
172.
Do you need more people out there?
I don't know. I'm on my way.
So the question is, what is going on? Very weird things happening. And you have to understand, I'm looking through this. This is all happening. What happens next? There's another down drone video that emerges from Facebook. This time, it's literally on fire and falling from the fucking sky. And so again, people are trying to correlate the two. Is this the down drone that was initially called in, or is this a different thing? We don't really know. But this next one gets called in. I don't think I can play the audio here because they say the N-word like 7,000 times. And we're probably going to get flagged. But Izzo, if I can somehow manage to edit this in, we're going to play it right now.
What the fuck is that, fool? Boy, that shit's dropping on Earth. Whoa! Nah! Hey, bro, it's gonna start shaking. Hey, bro, that might be a plane, fool. Bro, that might be a plane, gang. Boy, y'all, what the fuck?
It's about to hit. It hit. It already hit. I know it hit. That shit just hit.
What the fuck?
The stores. No.
Damn, I wish I had my phone now.
The stores. That's not even stores. They're actual fuck, bro.
No, one's moving right now, bro.
Dude, you just called this motherfucker, kill.
Look, it's moving again. It's moving again.
Things, bro. It disappeared. Oh, there you go.
What the fuck? He's lying like shit, bro. That's in space. That's look at that. Look.
That's Roach Airlines.
Oh, Roach Airlines.
Look how fast they're moving.
But look how fast it's moving.
Oh,
boy, it's going straight down.
They're following each other, cuz. West on.
What the fuck?
What the fuck is that? They're following each other. Hey, now there's more.
On the dead homies, that shit was on fire. I swear to God.
It was on fire like a fucking.
Yeah, it was like a little mute.
Meteors are moving around quick as fuck. And then it turned.
Bro, that shit is following each other, bro. Bro, what the fuck?
Too. What is that?
Nah, that's not no planes, bro, because that shit was just on fire, bro.
Oh, that's funny.
So do you want to describe to the listeners what you just witnessed?
The video starts off with one of these orbs being on fire, just going down, and then they see two more orbs in the sky, just kind of distancing themselves from one another, very high up in the sky. But then they're chatting about and speculating about what's going on. Just a couple of gentlemen having a gentlemanly discussion about UAPs.
Yes. And you said an orb flaming down? Because if in my vision, it looked like a drone shape on fire.
Yeah, it wasn't like an orb. It was
like
more triangular.
Triangular. Yeah, that's right. But then the other two that come in, those are orbs. At least they look like orbs. So that's a very strange one. Now, I have some updates as of this morning that I wanted to set straight. So the two girls that are filming the first thing that people were trying to say, is this what the 911 call was about? The UAP drone going into the woods that these girls had filmed? This has been sorted out. As of recording this, that UAP drone video, this was actually a Pilatus PC-12 plane. It had the identifier CNS 1029, and it landed at KCW. This is Essex County Airport in New Jersey at 5:37 p.m. Eastern. Now, what's interesting, the timing and location match that of the women that were filming the craft. So this is probably what they almost 100% certain that this is what they filmed. If you look at a Pilatus PC-12 at night, it totally looks like the same craft that they were filming. What's very eerie about this plane, it has these landing lights that kind of are a strip on the bottom from wing to wing. So you get these dispersed lights with dark space between them. And it kind of just looks like what you would expect a UFO like saucer to look like.
I see.
But it's just the landing lights from this plane. So if you look up this plane, it looks exactly like what they saw, and it does correspond with the flight charts that people looked into. So I don't think that had anything to do with the 911 call. But however, as of right now, I couldn't find any information about that flaming drone falling from the sky. So I don't know anything about that. I can only explain the girl thing. And I don't know if there's any updates on the 911 call. People are just reporting it. It's just going around the dispatch audio. It's just being passed around essentially. And I don't know what else. Like, I don't know if the OEM has a statement. I don't know any more follow-up than that as of today. But that was crazy. I don't know. What do you think about that?
The girl's filming the plane. I believe it's a plane. But the other one, the one that's on fire, not really sure what to think of that one.
Yeah, it's like its battery exploded or something and it's just falling.
Yeah.
But then there's like orbs around. It's weird. So the point being is we're talking about why hasn't anybody found these drones? Why didn't someone follow them to a landing site so we could identify exactly what they are? Well, there actually might be a down drone out there that someone knows something about, but we don't know anything about it. We just have the call and then we have that footage. But we don't know anything more.
Yeah.
So there might be a down drone that could answer these questions, but who knows now? Before we get into the next section here, UAP drones, they're being seen over many states in the US, concentrated around New Jersey, but also across the world in the UK. These drones are sighted around military bases and weapons facilities, residential areas, and other places. Local and federal authorities have no idea what they are. The FBI doesn't know anything. The Pentagon doesn't know anything. Local law enforcement doesn't know anything. So what could be going on? Let's speculate about this and get to the bottom of it in the next section.
Where do these objects come from? And who or what is responsible for them? Why aren't the authorities offering any explanations? Are they unable to act, or are they involved in some way? If these objects are from adversarial nations, why is there no response? Is the US lacking the technological or military capability to address the situation? Let's explore some theories and try to better understand what is going on.
What I want to play first in this section, because this is kind of how I feel about the whole thing, before we get into the theories here, there's this great clip of this assemblyman and former Apache pilot, Brian Burgeon. He's attending a briefing on the unexplained drone activity, and he just leaves in a frustrated manner, and then he gets interviewed outside. And I want to play that for the listeners quick, or at least a segment from that quick here for the listeners.
All right, so you're here today. You were just inside. You walked out. Why?
I walked out because it was worthless. It was the biggest amateur hour presentation I've ever seen about anything, okay? It was ridiculous. There were no answers. Every question that was asked by a member of the state legislature, great questions, no answers, no resolution. They don't know where the drones are coming from. They don't know who's doing it. They don't know why they're doing it, but they say there's no credible threat. It was annoying to be there. I drove 2 hours to be here today, spent an hour in there. I got to drive 2 hours back. The biggest waste of 5 hours in my entire life.
So why do you think they called this meeting?
No idea. Why would you call a meeting to tell people you don't know anything? I have no idea. And then when the legislators would ask questions, there were no answers. Here's the most frustrating part. The colonel of the state police said that he had a helicopter of his flying over above one of these drones, a 6-foot drone or something. I can't remember exactly what he said. And he felt unsafe for his helicopter, so he just let it go. Just let it go. Where'd it go? Who knows? Didn't want to follow it because you didn't feel safe. Is that not the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard? I mean, honestly.
Just a waste of time. The man has places to be.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, he could be out there capturing drones as we speak. But no, he's sitting in boring meetings.
I loved it. It's exactly how I feel about the whole thing, just said so indignantly. It's so fantastic. That's exactly right. Why is there no answers to this? This is not crazy. This should be sorted out. It's been a month. So let's talk about some possible theories here. Maybe we can calm ourselves down and collect ourselves. We're going to go through a list of the most popular theories. The first one is the military spy drone theory. So this is a plausible non-alien explanation for the recent drone activity. And it's basically just saying this is simply foreign military activity. The idea here is that drones are being spotted frequently around Air Force and military bases in the US and the UK. These are both NATO members, so potentially they're an adversary of NATO doing surveillance to determine nuclear capabilities. The idea would be if Russia is trying to strike Ukraine with nuclear weapons, or maybe they want to gather intelligence to determine if they can win, assuming the US and UK responds with nuclear weapons as well. Gathering intel, surveilling, seeing what's up. That's a theory that's out there. I will say Pentagon press that conference that they did, the FBI, they all say that it is not foreign. And there are some problems with this theory. The most glaringly obvious problem with the theory is that if this was an adversary, these things would be shot down. There's no way the US is just letting these slow-moving, medium-speed moving, highly visible craft fly around military bases. They're easy targets. They're bright lights. They're slow-moving. You could simply follow them too. Find where they're refueling, find their landing station. It would be very easy to get to the bottom of things. So it doesn't make sense to me, the military spy drone theory, but that is a theory that's proposed. The other theories, this is kind of a collection of theories, and they all relate to US military operations. I'm more in this camp right now based on the data I see. The first is the artificial intelligence training theory. The idea here is that US drones are flying over civilian and military installations to test AI target detection on the ability to differentiate between civilian and military installations. So that would explain why we're seeing them over highly populated residential areas and military bases, because the idea is, can we actually distinguish between the two? Or can we train the AI to distinguish between the two? Maybe that is what's going on here. And this kind of makes sense because there would be a 0% chance that in a post 9/11 world, the US is just allowing unknown crafts to fly through restricted airspace, or unknown crafts flying over populated civilian spaces. So logically, you might deduce that this has to be US military and they must know what's going on, right? There's no jets being scrambled. There's nothing. So tying into the artificial intelligence, the US military operations theories, it could also be the case that there is a credible threat. And it could be the case that perhaps US intel has received some knowledge or information about a credible threat, and that these US-based drones are essentially patrolling the skies, and that's why they're free to do what they're doing. Another theory related to US military operations, I don't know if I like this one, but I found it. I'm going to report it. Radiation detection. So the idea here was, why are advanced drones being used when we could use helicopters, satellites, radars, jets, or other conventional assets to perform the activity? And the idea would be, well, you may want to use a drone if it has something to do with radiation detection, because obviously the drone would be safe, whereas piloted stuff would not. Maybe that kind of ties into the whole UAP thing. It's like, are they tracking something that emits radiation? I don't know if I like that one, but it's out there. This other one's pretty wild, but could be fairly accurate, having to do with US military operations. Military transport of nuclear weapons theory. The logic here is, well, why is the Pentagon saying that they don't know what they are and that they're not a threat? Well, because if they admitted that they're drones, then the obvious next question would arise, well, why are we flying them around military bases? And if they just lied and said, well, just because, obviously citizens aren't going to buy that, because it doesn't make sense to be testing things over a high population area. And if they answered honestly and then went and said, oh, it's because we're transporting more nuclear weapons to the base, well, that would create panic, because people would be like, why are we arming up nuclear bases? Why do we need more? right? That is one of the theories out there. And it makes sense then because, well, why aren't the drones, the UAP drone things being taken down? Well, it's because they're US military. Why are they flashing aviation lights, the red, green lights you see on all of them? Well, because that makes them not a flight risk because you can see them, they're visible. Why are they exhibiting normal behavior? They're not fast accelerations. You can hear the propellers on them. Well, it's because they're drones. And why isn't the government explaining the purpose of them? Well, because they don't want to panic citizens because, right, there's all these wars going on. If we're arming for a World War III, wouldn't that rise some panic? Or just buffing up defense? Isn't that going to make people a little nervous? So it's totally possible the U.S. is just moving nuclear weapons, maybe scouting the path or something. I don't know what. And it's just kept secret to avoid panic and more questions.
Yeah, I mean, out of all of those, I like the AI theory the best, just training it. This seems like the logical next step for these things.
Yes. Now, the counterpoint to basically what we're saying is, oh, this is just obviously the US's own military. The counterpoint would be, well, there's no briefing. So some people in Reddit that I was reading what they have to say about that, who have experience in these fields, they said that when you're testing experimental aircrafts, equipment, or tactics, you would always brief the people that could be potentially at risk. And this isn't being done. And we know that it's not being done because of the flight medical helicopter incident that I brought up. So people aren't being briefed. So there are situations like that was an emergency situation that got diverted. The other thing is doing these experimental aircrafts over a populated region. Why would you choose that when there are hundreds of miles of classified military land designated for that? Why would you choose to put the community at risk, right? It's not like there can't be malfunctions. You could have even that downed thing we were just talking about in the last section. If you have a battery malfunction and you have something the size of a bus or a car falling from the sky, well, you're putting people at risk. Why even take that risk? And then another counterpoint to the military thing would just be cost. So not saying what these things are or informing the right people, like, right, law enforcement's involved, there's first responders, there's dispatch centers, there's regional FBI officers investing time and resources into this now when they wouldn't need to be if this was all known and happening. So you're just wasting tax money. And then finally, this one I don't know if I buy the most, but it is out there. If it is, maybe the reason we're not scrambling jets is because they know they can't get the crafts. If it is advanced alien tech, well, why you can't chase them? I don't buy that, but that's out there. That's what I found.
Because it'll have the energy drained from them.
Yeah. It'll get away. It's going dark. Okay, so that goes into that. But then some other theories. What if it's just a psyop, right? Testing the masses, testing different models to see what works best over the bases and how the population is going to react to them. That could be...
Yeah. I like that theory, combining it with the AI theory. So if you start diverting other flight paths and you have law enforcement in on it, then the AI could potentially learn a bias where, okay, there's nothing in my airspace, but if it just operates in a normal environment and citizens start reacting to it, they start flying their drones up to it, they want to be able to predict that as well.
Yes, that's a good point. The other Psyop theory, and I kind of like this one a little bit, given the anomalous orb stuff we brought up. What if, and I mentioned this earlier, what if it's just UAP cover? There actually are genuine UAP being identified in US airspaces, and the drones are a deliberate tactic to obfuscate the matter and provide plausible deniability. Maybe some of that, I don't know.
Yeah.
Another theory I really like, it's just rich guys flying quadcopters. Have you seen a quadcopter before?
No, I haven't.
It's basically a big drone that's manned and it's expensive. So people were thinking maybe is this just like a bunch of rich guys in New Jersey flying around manned drones? But I don't buy that one because you would just get shot down if you're flying over a military base in a quadcopter.
And you don't want to be flying them at night either.
No, it's ridiculous. That's another theory. UAP technology. So given that there's no evidence it's a foreign entity, there's no evidence of it being a threat, the Pentagon's saying it's not an Iranian mothership off the coast, and it's not US technology, what else does that leave? I want to play a clip from the Pentagon press conference. This is what they said.
At this time, we have no evidence that these activities are coming from a foreign entity or the work of an adversary. We're going to continue to monitor what is happening, but, at no point were our installations threatened when this activity was occurring.
Can you rule out that these are American drones or U.S. military drones?
These are not U.S. military drones. Again, this is being investigated by local law enforcement. What our initial assessment here is that these are not drones or activities coming from a foreign entity or adversary.
Representative Jeff Van Drew, who is a Republican from New Jersey, was just on the air saying that Iran launched a mothership probably about a month ago that contains these drones, and that mothership is off the coast of the east coast of the United States. Is there any truth to that?
There is not any truth to that. There is no Iranian ship off the coast of the United States, and there's no so-called mothership launching drones towards the United States.
So if it's nothing, it's either classified technology or it's genuine alien shit. Maybe not all of it, but maybe some of it. Maybe the orb stuff. I don't know. Right? How can it be nothing?
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It can't be.
And how can you say the UAP-like drones are not a threat? If you don't know the motive, you don't know the origins, there's not really high quality pictures, you're not tracking them to the source, how can you say it's not a threat? How can you just blanketly say that? Basically, the narrative is kind of reading, trust us, everything is fine, but there's no real answers. It's just denial and, oh, we'll investigate it, but nothing's happening. So I'm pissed off just like that guy. How is there nothing?
Yeah.
How is there nothing? And then finally, is this just aliens accustoming us to them, right? Is this just a tactic to accustom the population to the UAP activity in a preparation for disclosure? In the same way, like say you have a scared animal, you would approach it slowly. You wouldn't be threatening. You wouldn't be doing any rapid movement. You wouldn't be making eye contact. So just flying stuff really slowly and deliberately, is that trying to desensitize people to the phenomena? That's another theory I found out there. Do you want to hop into final thoughts and discuss further?
Yeah, let's do it.
So I believe, given everything we just went through, clearly something is going on. I personally don't think it is related to the UAP thing at all. I think more likely military. Of the things being proposed, the AI theory and the prepping for, I don't know, like preparing defense capabilities, maybe nuclear transport, things like this, maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think it is military, not UAP at all.
What about the orbs?
Lights on these crafts, such as
a
the
single
ones
light
on the plane. Yeah, and just out of focus. The one that's on fire, though, that one is odd, but yeah, I don't know how to explain that one.
I don't know either. And it's totally possible by the time this episode drops that crashed drone or whatever it was will be recovered or covered up. We'll see. We'll see what we think about it. But that's what I believe is going on. So what's the biggest swerve for you on this topic?
Probably the kite. The Stingray kite just looking like that and causing so much interest.
Yes.
And it literally just being a kite.
Yeah, I find it's so funny. And I think that's the case for a lot of stuff. There was another one I didn't include it in the episode, but someone was filming very odd lights and a weird pattern that was occurring in the sky. And it turned out to just be spotlights on clouds. So people were just using spotlights. It was cloudy, so they're hitting the clouds. And that's what the lights were. That was also a very popular video going around, but easily debunked. In the same way, the Stingray UAP, it's just a kite. This was just spotlights.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff too is honestly, it's just planes.
Yeah.
Just like I tried to throw in.
Yeah, like the girls that filmed that plane just landing.
Yep. I tried to throw that in specifically. That one was coming up real time when I was investigating the call stuff. But then also the triangular UAP stuff over that was occurring in the UK. There's another popular video of triangular UAP stuff, and it turned out to just be planes. And that was solved. So a lot of stuff can be explained. I'm going towards man-made stuff as we've been peppering throughout this episode. But that brings me to my next point. I find it basically at nighttime, everything is aliens.
Yeah.
That's what I'm learning. And I even see it in myself. I'm going through stuff. When I first saw, in conjunction with the dispatch call and then the Facebook video of the girls seeing that craft land or whatever they were trying to point out turned out to just be a plane. At the time, I was like, holy shit, is it fucking aliens?
Yeah.
Like, I'm just losing my mind, super excited. And everybody on Reddit were all just mentally going insane. And at the end of the day, it's just, it might as well have been a kite. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I get
it. Might as well have been that.
I get the same feeling or thought when I see those videos. Immediately, the first thing is, oh, that's just a plane landing or moving slowly. And they're always done at night too. Like, show me one of these videos during the day.
For the listeners out there, let's put our critical thinking caps on. Let's figure out what's going on. It's not always aliens, even though it is aliens. It's not always. So yeah, that's where my take is on this topic. I don't think we got to the bottom of what exactly is going on, but we did propose some theories that are maybe the most plausible and got a better idea of what is being reported. Highlighted some of the anomalies as well. So we'll see. This is an actively developing thing. Information could be completely different after we release this. So we'll see what goes on.
So if you've enjoyed this episode, you can find more of our episodes just on Spotify, or you can join our Patreon where you will get exclusive episodes that we release just on Patreon. So for $1 a month, you can join the Ride the Wave tier, which will give you access to those bonus episodes. If you're interested in more orb stuff and aliens and UFOs, we covered Chris Bledsoe. And then for $3 a month, you can join the Slap the Ass tier, which will give you access to those bonus episodes. You'll also receive a sticker pack, and you will receive early access to these episodes. Finally, for $10, you can join the producer tier, and that'll give you access to exclusive producer tier episodes, such as the Cryptid Smash Bros. Tournament, where creatures fight in a tournament style 2v2 teams, and we determine who the winner is. So a lot that you can check out on Patreon. We also have a free tier where you can join just to vote on the topics that we record next on a poll that we release on the 1st of each month until the 15th of each month.
Before we roll out of the episode, as always, we'd like to give massive props and credits to our producer tier on Patreon. Thank you to David Cheesem, Shelly Terry, SF Baby Doll, Big Ball Small Wiener, Backcat Meatloaf, Velcro Shoe Guy, Tosh Collins and the future anglers of Indian Lake, Ohio, Honest Elliott, Max Baseman Yad Johnson, Andrew Johnson, and Christian J for enabling today's episode and the continued growth of the show. With that, thanks everybody for listening. Slap that ass
and ride the wave.
It's not always aliens, even though it is aliens.